What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Macho Movie Madness.
Oh, yeah.
I am Brandon. Alongside me always is Andrew. And today we've got a really cool versus for you. It's 89 Punisher versus the 04 Punisher. Let's do it.
I can hear what you're thinking, all your doubts and fears. And if you look in my eyes in time, you'll find the reason I'm here. And in time, all things shall pass away. In time, you may come back someday to live once more or die once more. But in time, your time will be no more.
What is up, guys? So we are going to be doing a matchup head-to-head versus of both Punisher movies. I guess there's more than one Punisher, more than two Punisher movies, but yeah, I don't want to talk about Warzone. Warzone was rough, man, and the series was cool, but Warzone was rough. It is 1989's The Punisher, starring Dolph Lundgren, versus 2004's The Punisher, starring Thomas Jane. Both solid movies. I actually have a lot of love for one of these, but I've also got a lot of newfound love and respect for the other because I just watched it for the first time. So let's get into this. Andrew, I'm excited.
Yeah.
This is your idea.
Yeah.
Actually.
I've always liked the 04 a lot, and I'd recently watched 89 again just a few months ago, and I'm like, man, those are closer than what I realized. So I thought it'd make for a good versus.
Yeah, I think I can see like where the Punisher, the original Punisher, 1989 Punisher, fell off for a lot of fans and a lot of people. But I think if you revisit it, we'll get into that. I think it might change people's minds. But we're gonna do this thing. We're gonna run through the categories like we always do. Pretty much the same as always: story, setting, action, and acting. But we also might change up the last one every now and then. Today we're doing best villains again. Okay, so I'm going to run down the kind of stats of these movies like I always do real quick. Already mentioned the years they were both released. 1989's Punisher was directed by Mark Goldblatt, and which I don't really know much about him.
He was the editor for The Terminator, I believe, and
was he really?
Quite a few other big films. That's the one I remember. Of course, it's me. So
right, true, yeah.
But yeah,
04's.
Go ahead.
The 04 Punisher, I just say was directed by Jonathan Hensley, written by Michael France, and also by Jonathan Hensley. I've already mentioned they were both starred Thomas Jane and Dolph Lundgren. I think the 04. So interesting thing about both of these, most people are probably going to like and know the 04 version with Thomas Jane. There was some trouble with the reviews on the 89 version. Obviously, you're not going to see the signature skull or suit that the Punisher would wear. And the backstory of Frank Castle was changed just a little bit in the 89 ones, which troubled some fans, I think, and I'm sure a lot of them dismissed it from that. But funny enough, looking at the budget and the box office totals for both of these movies, the box office draws were the exact same. So if Wikipedia is right, of course I'm just going off of Wikipedia, but budget for the Punisher 89 was $9 million. The Punisher budget for the 04 Punisher budget was $33 million. Box office total for the Punisher 89 came in at $30 million. And I don't think it was even in the box office very long, but and I don't know if that was distributed worldwide. It may have been, it was. I think it was United States, and then
it's a canon film, so it might have been limited.
Yeah, so but it got 30 million. Total for the 2004 Punisher was 54.7. So they're coming in at around 21 million take home. Obviously with Punisher just being the 89 Punisher being just a lot less as far, $9 million is not really a lot of money. But so do you want to get into just go ahead and get into the categories.
Yeah, we can talk about it as we go through story.
Okay, let's get into it, and let's start with story.
Yeah, the story of the '89 Punisher. You've got Frank Castle, and he's right into it already. There's no killing off of his family. He's already killed like 125 people. Gang members
over the last 5 years. Yeah,
to get revenge, and he's taking down the mob. Well, in this story, the mob. The leader of the mob is Joanne Crabe. Am I saying? I'm sure I'm butchering that.
Maybe so.
He's been in a lot of things. He was the lead bad in The Living Daylights. I really like him as an actor. But he's trying to round up, all of the bosses, all the mafia heads, and just be like one mafia. And in the meantime, this Yakuza boss. This lady Tanaka comes in and makes a power play, strong arms him, and now the Punisher's got even more to go up against.
Yes.
In the Thomas Jane version, it's kind of an origin story. He's retiring. His family gets taken out by John Travolta's guys. What was his name in this movie?
Howard
Saint.
Howard Saint.
And thank you. And he's just getting revenge on them. It's just a straight up revenge tale with some cool things. How he plots, turns them against each other. I really enjoyed that. So, what do you take for story in this one?
Well, so I decided to do this on the fly today because there's some things that it's hard to work out in my mind because I just watched the Punisher '89 for the very first time. That was the one I was talking about. I've seen the '04 Punisher countless times. I absolutely love this movie. But '89, man, I really, really enjoyed it. I kind of like getting into this thing where he's already been the Punisher. He's already kind of mid career as the Punisher, as this ghostly like figure who just kind of sits in the shadows. In this case, he's kind of living in the sewers under the city, instead of like this rundown apartment in downtown, whatever.
My wife was waiting for Ninja Turtles when we watched it.
Yeah, for sure. But it's kind of great. He rides a bike around, and he's riding this bike underground in the sewers. Of course, he is haunted by the visions of his family who were killed, and it sounds like a mob hit. Maybe a mistake or gone wrong or something like that. Maybe because Franco mentioned at the end that he supposedly had nothing to do with that it was an accident or something, but it happened. Anyway, I think Lundgren does a really good job in this movie, and I really I kind of like the struggle between the bosses and this Yakuza coming in and strong arming them because they sense the weakness,
stealing their Punisher,
stealing their kids. Frank kind of has to be talked into by his informant, which is like his hobo character.
Shake is his name. Like
Shake. Yeah.
He's the one character that kind of got on my nerves in this movie, just a little bit.
But he kind of enlists his help. He gets talked into saving these kids because, you got to do something. Or this is one of those things where he's like, I only kill when they're guilty. That's not my problem. But he's like, yeah, but your killings and your actions these last 5 years, this is the result of that. And now these kids are kidnapped because of these bosses that are fighting. You've got to do something. And I like that. It has a lot of very similar plot points and things that you would see in an 80s action movie. But at the same time, it's okay. Like it all works really well. The entire time I was watching it, I was thinking, my God, even though it did make what it made in the box office, I'm like, why is this movie not talked about enough?
Right.
Because even, I guess maybe because it's a Punisher Marvel character, it's a Punisher movie, maybe it just kind of got slipped under the rug, swept under the rug because it was not received well by fans. I don't know. But even if you just took it out of that and you just made it an action movie, it's solid. It's super solid. It really is. But I was thinking this whole time, like, man, this is good. Why do people not talk about this shit enough? Um, that said, I have to probably still go with '04. I know this is long and drawn out, but I think I might still have to go with '04 on the story, just because we've seen a lot of origin stuff by this time and it's kind of run its course, but then we hadn't really yet.
Yeah.
And this was good. Thomas Jane was really good in this role. You got a little bit of his backstory, who he was. You got to see him right before he lost his family. You got to see his family. You got to meet his family. His dad, played by Roy Scheider, who of Jaws fame, the original Jaws, is his dad. So you get to hear at this family reunion in what the Florida Keys or the Bahamas or something. I don't know. It's something off wherever on the beach somewhere.
Yeah.
And he ends up killing one of the boys in this deal gone wrong as kind of his last job on the force. He did an undercover thing, and one of Howard Saint's boys, who are twins, gets killed in the process. Because he obviously didn't know what the hell he was doing. He was in over his head, and things went wrong, and he ends up getting killed. They blame Thomas Jane for it, because Thomas Jane foils the whole thing, even though it's him dying wasn't really his fault. It was the kid's fault. It was kind of out of his control. But the mother, Howard Saint's wife, who is just about as sadistic as Howard Saint, said, "I want the whole family dead," as an act of rage. So she sends the goons, and the entire family dies, not just his wife and kids. The entire family dies. And I think it hits you harder because you kind of get to meet them and you fall in love with them pretty early and pretty quick, and you just see how devastating it is. And of course they shoot him and leave him for dead, and it's pretty rough. And I love the revenge plot. I love how smart it is. I love how he manipulated the entire situation, and like Vincent was his name, I believe. Was that Will Patton's character? Will Patton's in this movie. Quentin Glass. Quentin Glass. Quentin Glass, is gay, and you find out, but that he basically leads Howard to believe that him and his wife are sneaking off having an affair. And so he gets his revenge. So basically Howard ends up killing and taking care of everybody around him and going insane. And that's when the Punisher comes in. Thomas Jane, his character, comes in at the end and lets him know, "Hey, I've killed you. I've killed your sons. I made you kill your friend. I made you kill your wife. And now I'm killing you."
Yeah.
And that was awesome. And I love that too. He's like, "You killed my son." And about that time, because he had him on that detonator, and he's like, "No," and he blows up in the building. He's like, and he just looks at it, he looks back and goes, "Both of them." There was a lot of really good scenes in '04 Punisher, man.
That was my favorite part about the story of '04 was just the double crossing, the attention to detail that went into all that, with the fire hydrant. She ends up with the tickets and
the earrings and
the phone records and everything. I thought that was really well done. I'm going to go Punisher 89, just because of all the gang stuff, how the Yakuza's brought into that, how they're going to take over the mob. And, now he's got a new enemy and he has to, take out, even more bad guys.
Right. Who get the best of them at times. It's pretty, it's pretty crazy.
So I'm going to go 89. I know Kenny went 04. So Punisher 04 takes that category.
It does. Yeah. I just like it's just so more sympathetic. It's just a more sympathetic story, and if you're going for a revenge plot, man, there's not much sweeter. There's two movies when you talk about revenge plots in movies, there's two that stand out the most to me. This movie here and The Count of Monte Cristo, the Jim Caviezel one.
I thought you were going to say I Spit on Your Grave, but
no, that's a wild one. That's a deep cut. Woof. Yikes. Anyway, so but Count of Monte Cristo, woof, man, that was a good damn movie. I love that movie. Holy shit. You want to talk about good revenge, man. Damn, that was good. Anyway, and such a good ending for it too. But anyway, yeah, I just love that. So let's move on to setting. And man, honestly, it's kind of a toss up here. I think I might go 89 on this. And I really love the setting, the Punisher. I love like the beach and that the vacations stuff. You know, obviously that was a absolute massacre of his family.
Yeah.
I like the various parts of the city that they fought in. You know, obviously the apartment building was awesome with the Russian fight and the Mad Russian or whatever, and the Harry Heck scene, which we'll have to talk about in a second. The stuff at the end at the dealership or whatever that is, Howard Saint's place. I really like that, but I think there's just so much crazy shit, so much action in 89. I love the skyrise or whatever at the end that the Yakuza's shacked up in at the top floor.
Yeah. All the subterranean stuff was kind of cool.
The subterranean stuff was cool.
They fight in an abandoned amusement park.
That was awesome.
There's a scene there where it's kind of like a casino, like a kind of an underground casino that he shoots up. We'll talk more about that in action. I think there's probably a little more variety in settings, although I do love 04. You know, that's Tampa, St. Pete, where they shot that, and man, I love that's you know, we're from the Midwest, but if I go on vacation or something, that's one of my favorite spots.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I'm with you on that one. 89.
Like I said, it's really close. It
was actually shot in Sydney, I believe.
Oh, was it really? Okay. Let me see where it was actually at. Maybe it'll tell us. I don't know. Anyway, I really like both of them a lot, and it's really close. But I think I'm gonna edge it to 89 just because of that. I think there's just so much crazy shit that happens. There's a lot of in 04, because it's revenge, there's a lot of plotting, so there's a lot of stuff within, you know, of course, like I said, that apartment fight and all that's very important. It's awesome, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on in that apartment, and there's just it's a lot of the same setting, because you're telling this story as it unfolds, and you're telling this, you're setting this piecework up for everything to go his way, for him to take Howard Saint down. And this is just more, I think the 89 is just more action driven, so it's going to be more,
a lot more set pieces.
Yeah, I don't know. Both of them are really good though. I'm gonna edge it to 89.
Yeah.
In a very long, drawn out answer.
So that ties it up 1-1.
Yeah. And for acting, let's get into acting. What do you say on acting?
I'm probably going to go 04 on acting. Dolph wasn't quite there yet. I mean, he's okay as the Punisher, but he doesn't have the range of emotions that Thomas Jane does. Of course, Thomas Jane's put through the emotional ringer in this as Frank Castle. Yeah. But I like him. The guy who plays Quentin Glass, I can't think of his name.
Will Patton.
Yeah.
Will Patton is awesome. He is. And everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, and just those two alone. The rest of the cast is okay. Rebecca Romaine.
always
a smoke show. Like her in this.
Ben Foster. Yeah. Ben Foster is good in everything too, even in this crazy pierced up weird guy.
Yeah.
Like, this is just in the apartment.
The two other guys in the apartment, I was like, they're
the comedy relief.
Yeah, they were okay.
Although him getting his piercings ripped out by Quentin was rough, dude. That was rough.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to have to go that. You know, on the other side, you know, like I said, Dolph wasn't quite there. Lou Gossett is amazing.
Lou Gossett's awesome in this movie. Yeah. I love Lou Gossett. He's great in everything, really. Though I mean, even if the movies aren't that great, Lou Gossett and he sold it so well. You know, as he was the one that had the drinking problem, and when Frank Castle come in, their backstory which was decent. You know, he came in and brought Lou Gossett's character back into what, you know, he said he made me realize what it was like to be a cop again. And I think he wanted to return the favor so bad, and he couldn't because Frank was just too far gone. I thought Dolph did a decent job playing that ghostly, like, deadlight character. I thought he looked good. I thought he sold it pretty well. There were some times where, you know, he's just not the strongest of actors. I think I'll still stick behind me saying that he is an underrated actor. He's underrated in these action movie star roles, but like you said, he just wasn't quite there just yet, but he was getting there.
Yeah, and the jet black hair, which it makes you wonder. He did I Come in Peace right after this, where he had brown hair. If he hadn't lost all that yet, you know, from this movie.
Yeah.
But
what'd you think of Travolta? I know Travolta's one of those kind of guys where he's so weird and so eccentric, and all of his roles are so weird.
I like him in some things, and other things I don't. To me, like, he's the weakest link of Face Off in that movie. You know, well, of course, you're going against whacked out Nicky Cage in that one.
That's what's so crazy. Is as crazy and as weird as Travolta is, you just cannot beat Nick Cage's weird.
Yeah. Which we'll have to talk about that at length at some point here. But
we will too, for sure.
But
we need to talk Face Off for sure.
I felt like he was just kind of there in this movie. I do like that scene you were talking about where he ripped out all the piercings, and the scene where he throws his wife over the rail onto the railroad tracks. I thought those were pretty menacing scenes. But he's just like
his sob at the end, though. It was I could kind of feel that.
Yeah.
When he threw those pictures down and threw the earrings down, and he's just like, "Oh God," you know, like that was I mean, you kind of feel it. But yeah, he's like I said, he's got some good roles, man. But and I don't hate this side of Travolta either. I've seen way weirder out of him, but I don't think he's weak, but I think he is maybe the weakest in the movie as far as Will Patton's character is just so good.
Yeah.
In this movie. He's the perfect fixer, or whatever you call him, side man, whatever.
Yeah.
Right hand, whatever you want to say. And of course, like all the side characters, Rebecca Romaine, I think they all played their perfect parts. In no world will I ever buy the fact that Rebecca Romaine is just some like meek little diner girl, but whatever. You know, just that has friends, the two goofiest looking friends in the entire city. But you know, whatever. Harry Heck, I mentioned him earlier. That was a badass scene, and that song was badass. Yeah, and I should have recorded that for the opening of this verses. But maybe I still will. I don't know. But love that scene. Love Mark Collin.
Mark Colley.
Mark Colley, I mean, thank you. Mark Colley was awesome in this, even in his short role. That's actually one of my favorite lines in this movie is, "You are one dumb son of a bitch." You are one dumb son of a bitch, bringing a knife to a gunfight, and he shoots the knife, the blade out of it. Hits him
what a good character for as short-lived as he was. And Kevin Nash, you know, for a guy who never spoke a word. I really liked him in that. He overacted a little bit. I mean, it fit the scene though.
It did. Because him in that damn striped Where's Waldo looking shirt and him fighting Thomas Jane sold so well for it. It's such a good fight scene, man. It's a really good fight scene.
If he hadn't tore his quad, he might have took him too.
I know. That's what happens. And maybe got his head turned around when he fell down the stairs. That's another one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in a movie.
That was pretty good.
Anyway, so are you picking 04, you said?
Yeah, I'm picking 04.
So we're 04 across the board on acting. That makes it 2-1 in 04's favor. Let's go on to action. Kenny picks 04 Punisher. What do you say?
I like the action in 04, but
I
to
do
me,
too.
it's not even close. When you look at the body count in 89, I
Yeah,
said it was, what did I say, 224 is what
something like
IMDb
that.
reported.
I think that's what it was.
125 of those were, talked about in the opening scene. So there's a body count of 99 in this movie. It's
Yes.
wild.
Yes.
The carnage is
Yes.
out of control.
It's wild. I think I'm gonna agree with you on that. So I think the violence in 04 is maybe cooler in places.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the fight, especially the compound at the end when he goes through and he takes everybody out with the bow and shit. Man, that was awesome. I love the dual 1911s with the silver compensators. That's just so cool. The weaponry, everything in this movie is so badass in 04. The kills in this movie, man, they're gruesome, they're brutal. Some of them are creative. When he shoved that knife up in the dude's throat and you can see the knife blade sticking through his mouth. Like I said, that we talked about the apartment fight, the Russian fight,
the Harry Heck
that was
stuff.
The Harry Heck stuff was good. I think maybe it's more meaningful in places, utilized better in places. It's really close for me. It's really close for me because I love them so dearly. I love that movie so much. But I think in this weird case, you have the quantity and the craziness of 89, I think just edges it out a little bit. I think I'm going to have to go 89 just because it is so, man, even like just the first 20 minutes of the movie, you can like, my God, this is
where he blows up that guy's mansion and
yes. And he has the knife in the back and it's calling cards, kind of these knives or whatever. And then the dock scene at the end when the Yakuza kind of first show up on the drug deal and everybody's killing everybody and Frank's killing everybody and it's just wild as shit. And that's one of the first 20-25 minutes. And I'm thinking to myself, as the first time watching, I'm like, God, why haven't I not seen this movie? This movie is already underrated.
Shooting a machine gun one-handed and just offing guys.
Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that. So he fires this harpoon repel gun, basically the repel weapon, fires it through a guy down below on the ground. He's up on a building. It pierces him. It sticks into the van or whatever the hell it was that he was up against, and he zip lines down the damn rope that's pierced through this guy who's now dead. One hand in the machine gun, shooting everybody. Just wild. Is it crazy? Yes, but it's awesome. And I was like, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is already so underrated.
Yeah.
And I'm 25 minutes in.
There's something about him one-handing a machine gun, like in Red Scorpion where he's got that FAL. He's just going down.
When he drops through drops through the skylight in the casino, the underground casino.
Yeah,
and just blasting the shit out of everybody with all the slot machines and everything.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, just awesome. Just crazy stuff. I mean, it's truly underrated. Yeah, I do think that 04 has some really cool stuff. I think it's probably even more meaningful. There's some gruesome stuff in there, but there is a really, really good amount of action in the Punisher 89, and it's good action too.
It's almost Showdown in Little Tokyo levels, like where every so many minutes there's an action scene. Like
yes, yes, for sure, sure.
And I'm with you. I do think 04 is more meaningful, like you say, in those scenes. I think they do mean more, but just the mass quantity of action that's coming at you in 80.
I'm saying it's one of those cases where I might normally go the meaningful approach. In this case, even if it's a little bit of a rare case, the amount of carnage is going to outweigh.
Yeah.
For me, just this time, for me, it's going to outweigh that.
Very rarely do we say more is more, but it is in this case.
In this case, yeah. So a lot of times less is more, but this case it's because it's not bad. It's not Death Wish 3 cheesy fun, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
You know, like there's some silly moments, but it's not overly silly. Like it's still fun.
Another one we didn't talk
I
about
was
is
just that's
when he goes into the Yakuza's lair in that penthouse, and you've got all the red light comes on, and he's walking through the what are those partitions that you can see shadows through, and they're firing and stabbing each other through those.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
I had to mention that. That's a cool scene too.
Awesome. Yeah. It's a really good. I'm saying, telling everybody right now, if you haven't seen it, you need to go watch. Give it a chance. I mean, yeah, you don't have the skull. You don't have that that typical Punisher character. Frank Castle's his name, and it's very similar, but it's not as different as you might think, just because he's not wearing the skull or whatever. But it's really worth the watch for sure. It's a really good, solid movie that I don't know why I haven't seen up to this point. And the whole time, because now I watched it on YouTube because I couldn't find it really on anything. So there's a version on YouTube, and I don't know if it's because it's the YouTube version, somebody spliced them in, or if it's just how the release was. But there were certain action scenes and like some of the heavier death scenes where the footage got really grainy and shitty. So I don't know if they took some if there's uncut footage there that might have been spliced
like a work
in
print version. That's what I saw too.
Maybe that's what it was. But if I could find a really good HD quality version, I would like to own this movie for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. People getting shot through the head in those scenes and slow mo, and it was. And
wild. Sometimes there was one instance where it looked kind of goofy because you could tell the prosthetic, like the doll or whatever. But every other time, the effects were pretty good, really. And there was some blood, like it wasn't overly gory. But 04 Punisher wasn't overly gory. There were some parts, but it was nothing like Warzone. That was just crazy and bad. Anyway, I think it was. That's just my opinion. So action actually goes to Punisher 89.
Tying it up going into the last category.
And we're tying it up going into best villains. So that's cool. Both of these movies are phenomenal. Definitely worth watching. Definitely probably worth owning both of them. Definitely worth owning both of them. So best villains. Do you want to take this or you want me to? I'm kind of torn. I'm torn. I am.
You're all out of faith.
Yeah. This is how I feel.
So
lying naked on the floor.
I don't think so. I really like Quentin Glass in it, but I'm really not a fan of Travolta in this movie. So I think just based on that, although the henchmen, the assassins, Harry Heck and the Russian almost make up for it. On the other side,
even the one guy that got the knife through he was pretty sinister too.
Yeah, the blonde guy.
Yeah.
On the other side, of course, you have Joan Crabe. I think that's how you say his name.
Jaron or Jaron. I don't know, something like that.
He's really good. Lady Tanaka and her henchwoman are decent.
I think they were the best in the movie. Honestly, I think Tanaka and the henchwoman, who was a blonde white woman, which is wild, but she was badass.
I was reading that scene where they got Dolph tied up and they're stretching him out, and she's got that crazy looking deal on her pinky, like a blade, and she's running it over his chest and stuff. I read somewhere that she had never seen anybody built quite like Dolph Lundgren, and she was kind of taken aback by him, and that was all ad-libbed.
Wow. In case we die, you got the biggest dick I've ever seen.
Right.
That's a little showdown in Tokyo reference. Brandon Lee. Anyway, I like Franco in this. It's kind of interesting dynamic for him to basically strong arm Frank to protect Jake, Lou Goss's character.
Yeah,
had to strong arm him at the end to get his son back, because he loved his son, but obviously then turns it right back around on Frank at the end and ends up getting killed anyway, which I figured was going to happen. Lady Tanaka was a badass. The Yakuza were badasses in this movie. I have no really big problems with '89, but I think I have to go Punisher '04. I think I like Travolta more than you do.
Yeah.
I think because I think yeah, I think I said he's crazy and Travolta is probably a wackadoo. This is not the crazy side. This is one of the tamest versions of Travolta I've seen as a villain, and other than maybe, yeah, that's probably it. And I think it was good. I think the dynamic with him and the son, who was kind of a badass. Well, not so much a badass, but just, I mean, definitely very hateable. But Quentin was awesome.
Yeah.
Harry Heck was awesome. The Russian was awesome. Man, it's very close. It's very close. I think I have to edge it to '04, just because I like the dynamic a little bit better.
Yeah, and that shows you how close these movies are. Where we're drawing straws here, trying to figure out which villain was the best, which henchmen were the best to take this category.
Yeah, there wasn't really notable henchmen other than the woman in '89. All the other, they just had numbers. It's just a bunch of no-name dudes getting killed.
Yeah. Just a bunch of Guidos.
Yeah, I felt a stronger. Well, I guess you could say the same for some of Quentin's, or from some of Quentin and Howard Saint's men too. But he had more like recognizable. Yeah, he had 3 or 4 there upper in the ranks that were kind of badasses. And it, like I said, it's the dynamic. It helps too that you have those particular faces that go along with like the murder of his family and him getting, in movies like this, the ranking is kind of how they die, right? The henchmen just die all over the place, but then your first, second, third, fourth rank guys that are down below the boss are getting killed kind of in reverse order all the way up to the boss, kind of like a video game. And that's there's more of that in '04. Maybe that's a weird way to explain.
No, that makes total sense actually.
But so me, just strength in numbers, I think I have to go '04. The dynamics is a little bit better too.
Yeah, I can.
But it's very close. I really enjoyed Punisher '89. I really did.
Yeah.
Kenny, I think, picks '04 in this, so that would make it 3-2. '04 as the winner. I kind of expected it. And I'm okay with it. Obviously, like I said, I absolutely love Thomas Jane Punisher, man.
It's a really good movie.
It's one of my favorite movies. It's still one of my favorite Marvel movies, even after all the Avengerverse shit. There's some good ones in there. Obviously, there's fun movies, but this is before all that, man. This is before Iron Man. This was 4 years before the first Iron Man movie. So I mean, which really changed everything for me. But this is good, man. This is a strong ass movie, and I recommend for all the attempts at comic book movies, or pop, different movies that are based off of comic books, video games, whatever. This is one of the strongest I've ever seen. Punisher '89 is.
Yeah,
it really is. I mean,
it was kind of a dark horse going into this thing, and almost won it. So
it's impressive. It's impressive. You know what? The same year you had Batman. That's probably up until this time was definitely the strong, outside of Superman '78, was the strongest superhero movie, and stayed the strongest superhero movie for a long time.
This had a little bit of that Batman feel, especially the beginning where he invades that guy's mansion, and he's pulling guys up by their neck and stuff, and you're not really seeing who's doing it. It reminded me of Batman a little bit.
It did. Well, yeah, and then I love that scene too, as the mansion blows. The reporters were out there trying to get a glimpse of what was going on, and you see his silhouette.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. Anyway, yeah, thank you. You see kind of a silhouette. He's standing there like a badass in the doorway as the flames are and shit are rising around him, and then the fucking place just blows all to hell. And he gets out, obviously, but you don't know how the hell he could have got out in time, but he did. Very, very Batman-esque. But yeah, I mean, this is cool. I'm impressed that this thing, after really thinking about it, stood its ground against '04, because '04 is a solid ass movie, and it's a good Punisher movie. But I recommend everybody get this a try for sure. You should try it. You find on YouTube, if you can find a copy of it that's maybe a little bit better quality, I would definitely do that. Anything else you want to say?
No. Was really looking forward to this one. Like both of these movies a whole lot. We do have a Dolph tier ranking coming out. I think we've decided we're going to do it in August because we still got some movies to watch. Nobody on YouTube to this point has done a Dolph tier ranking, and we feel he's super underrated and as an action star, and deserves to be talked about in the same vein as Van Damme and Seagal.
I think so. So.
And so plan on that here in a couple of months.
And what's the next versus we got coming out?
Oh, the new Beverly Hills Cop's coming out in July.
That's right.
Axel Foley. So we're going to do Beverly Hills Cop 1 versus 2. Much like Lethal Weapon 1 versus 2, we feel like the second one is as strong as the first one almost.
For sure.
I think 1 beat 2 in that case. We'll see if 2 can give 1 a run for its money.
Yeah, absolutely. And then shortly after that, I think we're going to try and do Iron Eagle versus Top Gun.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. Okay, cool. So I think that's going to wrap it up. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think about the Punisher 89 and the Punisher 04. If you've seen either one of them, drop a comment, hit the like button, all that good stuff. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything in the future. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
We're out of here.